Now, from CBS News Miami, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede. In a few days, Florida's 6-week abortion ban will go into effect, which means by the time most women realize they are pregnant, they will likely have missed the opportunity to decide what to do about it. The Florida legislature also made it harder for women to qualify for an abortion in cases of rape and incest. Likewise, when a woman's life is at risk, the legislature not only made it more difficult for a woman to get an abortion, but have made it clear that in some cases, they would rather have a woman die than receive an abortion. This issue will certainly define the elections in November, and one candidate for Congress who faced that very life and death decision is sharing her story here this morning. Lucia Baez-Geller is a Democrat and member of the Miami-Dade School Board who is now running for Congress against Republican Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar, who currently represents parts of Miami-Dade County. Lucia, thank you for coming in.
Good morning, Jim. Thanks for having me.
So I want to talk to you about a number of things, including your candidacy, why you're running and all that. But I do want to start with this story that you've now decided to share. I know you wrote a piece for the Miami Herald. You posted something online. But I want to hear from you directly. Tell me what you experienced exactly.
Yeah, so, we're facing this 6-week draconian abortion ban here in Florida in just a few days. I really felt compelled to tell my story, which is one of loss, but also of hope. And, starting off my family, I started late in life. I met my husband at 35, and we really weren't sure if we were gonna have children. So when I successfully had one child, we were very happy to, as soon as I could, have the second child, but unfortunately did not go as we had planned. And it really took up to 10, 11 weeks to find out that I had a non-viable pregnancy. And so in thinking of all the women that in a few days are not going to have the same options that I had, I felt the need to share because specifically in that very hard moment, in that moment of loss, what the doctors told me and the way that I had hope was that if I did end this current non-viable pregnancy medically through a DNC procedure, which many women are familiar with, that I would have the most likely ability to continue building my family and having hope to get pregnant without affecting my fertility. Now, in a few days, that option of medically ending non-viable pregnancy, let's say through a DNC, is not going to be available for women. And what's left for them is a tragic, horrible option, which is to spontaneously miscarry, where anything could go wrong and fertility may not be guaranteed after that.
I understand the desire to want to lay out the facts, but let's talk it on a little bit personal level.
Yeah.
When you learned that the pregnancy the child that you were carrying was not viable.
Yeah.
That this pregnancy was not going to end favorably. How did that affect you?
It was horrible, Jim, because like I told you, we started off with these ideas. You picture what your life is going to be like. I'd finally found love. We won this election for school board together. We got married. We get pregnant. And you just want to continue building your family. And for me, learning that I was not going to get exactly what I had dreamed of. Yes, I had one perfect child that I was so grateful for, let's say a miracle baby, but that hope that I had, that dream to have continue growing my family was out the window. It was terrible, and I feel like your world shatters, and you could put back the pieces, but it's never going to be the same. It's like a mirror that shatters. You can't really fix it. And for me, the dream, losing the child was hard, but losing the dream of having future children was also going to be hard too.
I got to imagine that when the doctor tells you and your husband that this is a non-viable pregnancy, that's got to be a devastating moment. Yeah. And I'm trying to imagine what that moment will be like going forward after May 1st, when it's now not only you and your husband having to make through these decisions with your doctor, but knowing that the Florida legislature is now going to insert their beliefs into that room as you have to decide how to go forward.
That's right, and you said it perfectly. This is supposed to be a decision between a woman, their family, and their healthcare provider. That's how it's supposed to be, and it's for a reason, because these are deeply personal issues, and we're supposed to have control over our bodies. And at that moment, I had a multitude of options, and the best option that was provided for me that was going to be medically effective, medically safe, is no longer available. People will only have really one option, which is going to be horrific, and it does not take into account all the advancements in science and everything that we've had.
Because essentially what you're saying is that the body eventually will come to the conclusion that this is a non-viable pregnancy, and then you will spontaneously miscarry. It could happen in the 11th week, it could happen in the 16th week, it could happen at any point, and it could occur in a way that, as you pointed out, not only could potentially risk your life, but more importantly, could prevent you from having other children. That's the irony here, is that so much of this is supposed to be about protecting life. You made this decision, correct me if I'm wrong, you made this decision so that you have to open the option of being able to have additional children.
Correct. And that was the solace that I had in that moment, was hearing from my doctors that there are opportunities that I can move forward from this safe and medically, and that was a big help for us. And then, yes, we went home and we decided what would be best for us, but having that range of options, being able to choose, I think, is clear. And now that there's no ability to choose, I think it's really kind of an inhumane practice, and it's really not going to be good for people to have to look for care. Imagine you're having the worst time of your life and you have to think about traveling to North Carolina or Virginia to get medical care in our country in 2024. It does not make sense to me, Jim.
How did this, you were dealing with this at the same time the legislature was making these decisions.
Yes.
There has to be something that while you're physically experiencing this, going through this, and listening to the debate going on and the rhetoric going on in Tallahassee, talk to me about that. What was that like?
It was literally happening simultaneously. I remember sitting on the couch talking to my husband and him literally saying, thank God in a way that this is happening now and not in a few months, because our decisions would have had to be completely different. We would have had to pick up with our 1-year-old daughter to leave the state, to have, some sort of care. And in a way, we are lucky that this happened 365 days ago. But why is 1 year? Like, why this drastic change? And it's not going to be helping anybody. And we really have to do all that we can to protect our freedoms. So many of us come from countries where this sort of repression or control over people's bodies, we've come to this country for freedom. My father, he fled communism on a boat on the Maria boat lift to come here for freedom. And now these are the decisions that are being made over our bodies. It's unacceptable.
So this is a good segue. For a lot of people, this is the first time they're seeing you, they're hearing from you. So let me ask you the question I ask every candidate who comes in. Why are you running for Congress?
For me, this is absolutely an important decision in my life because I've been a public servant my whole life. I was a teacher for 15 years, helping parents get their children ahead.
You taught at Miami Beach Senior High?
Yes, for 15 years.
For 15 years?
Yeah, English teacher. So shout out to my students who, by the way, helped me get elected in 2020 to the school board, because I felt that, we have been telling people that you do the right thing, you go to school, you get good grades, and here in America, you can fulfill your dreams. I am an example of that promise of the American dream. That's why I'm sitting here with you today, Jim, because that American dream worked out for me. And as I was in the classroom, I realized it was not working out for our kids. So I run for school board, and now I'm being called, and people are calling me. They can't keep a roof over their head. They don't have transportation. They can't pay for their medical bills. They need jobs. And I know once again that I'm being called to do more to help our working families and essentially our children and our students, and protecting their future so that there's a Miami that works for them.
But why are you a better choice than the current Congresswoman, Maria Elvira Salazar?
It's very simple. I mean, I have been absolutely fighting in the trenches. I've been working with these families to make sure that they get ahead. I'm trusted. I'm battle tested. I've been at the forefront of fighting to protect our freedoms and our democracy. And more importantly, I'm honest. I'm not going to go do one thing in D.C. and then come down here and try to pull the wool over people's eyes.
You're talking about the fact that she votes one way in Congress and then comes down here and takes
Absolutely,
credit.
which you so well know.
I think we did a little bit of that here on
Yes.
the table when I talked to her last.
Yeah, it's really important to me. We have to be able to have a leader that's going to actually fight for us and that knows the issues and is going to be apart from the chaos and not side with party politics and not, go up there and side with extremists when we have real issues down here that are not being brought up.
Well, tell me, so let's talk about some of those other issues. What are so affordability, but what can a member of Congress really do to make things more affordable here?
Oh, there's so many things we could do, Jim. I mean, for starters, as an educator, which I am, we see our kids here leaving. They don't want to live at home until they're 40 years old, which, by the way, I lived at home until I was 35 as a teacher because I couldn't afford rent myself. But they want to go out and experience their lives. We're educating them here, and then they're leaving the state. We need to bring back our talent and make sure that we have the infrastructure here in Miami so our most talented people can stay. So we have to have the jobs and we have to have all of the amenities here so that our children can stay here. But we also have to make sure that we lower costs. I mean, recently Congress passed to cap the price of insulin. We can extend that. We can extend that to that cap for other medicines and for other things. There's a lot we could do.
Do you think, I mean, obviously we've talked a lot about abortion and the healthcare rights of people. Do you think healthcare in general is in danger right now?
Absolutely. We have to expand Medicare, make sure that we have services for everybody. They have access to the medical needs, and especially here with reproductive freedom, we see that there are so many people that are going to be suffering soon with some of the draconian cuts that we have here in Florida. So we have to do more for our residents here in Miami-Dade County.
The issue of climate change is obviously one. That district that you're running in runs along the coast. It's fairly critical right there. Talk to me about what you would do different than you think is being done right now.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm going to vote for bipartisan bills such as the CHIPS and Science Act, which my opponent voted against, bringing tech hubs here, bringing clean energy jobs here. But we have to be working with the federal agencies. We have to work with the Army Corps of Engineers and make sure that we're actually resilient, that we are keeping up with the rate of change that is happening here. And right now we're just not. We need to protect our waters. We need to make sure that the runoff and that we are holding companies accountable when there's pollution. I mean, there's so much still left to be done, and we're not hearing in Congress. My opponent is not bringing up these issues, and so I really believe that I can do more for this county.
This is for your introduction. We'll have more conversations because I do want to talk to you about immigration and some other issues, and border security and all those sorts of things.
Yes.
Those are important issues, but we'll continue this conversation. But Lucia, I appreciate your coming in and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Jim.
All right.
Pleasure.
All right. When we come back, we will be joined by State Senator Lauren Book, who is currently walking across the state of Florida to bring attention to child sexual exploitation. Stay with us. Welcome back. State Senator Lauren Book has made protecting children a hallmark of her time in office, and she is currently making her annual walk across the state of Florida to bring attention to child sexual exploitation. She has also been one of the leading voices opposing the state's new abortion ban. I had a chance to catch up with her during her march through the Panhandle.
Well, we are walking in April because April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I am so thankful to be able to talk to you on this journey. It is really to make sure and bring about awareness for childhood sexual abuse so people know and understand the resources that are available in their communities. We've partnered with the child advocacy centers across the state of Florida, the rape crisis centers, every stop along the way so that people know and they see us, right? What is available in their communities. It's important to know that 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys may become the victim of child sexual abuse before their 18th birthday. However, 95% of sexual abuse is preventable with education and awareness, and that's what this walk is all about. It's empowering survivors. It's letting people know that it's okay to tell, where to find resources, and how to really teach children how to advocate for themselves and stay safe.
Lauren, it just seems to me that there has been attention about this, but why is this still so important to stress the the availability of those resources, the idea of taking and allowing people to come out of the shadows if they want to be able to talk about that. It seems to me that I think a lot of people will think, well, it's 2024. That haven't we resolved that? That people understand that by now, but they don't, do they?
No, it's still a highly stigmatized issue. People don't want to talk about it. We had a survivor stop with us and just join alongside on the road. She was in her 70s and had never told anyone about her abuse before that day, before she started walking with us. Those things happen every single day. It's a highly stigmatized issue. And people need to know that at any point in time in their journey, as an adult, you can receive free resources, free counseling at rape crisis centers and child advocacy centers throughout the state of Florida. People don't realize it. People need to know and understand that it's okay to tell, it's okay to heal, and you too can become a thriving survivor.
How have things changed from when you first did this 10 years ago to today?
I think that people have embraced it. I think that we have families that have come with us and have continued to grow with us. The advocacy centers and the rape crisis centers utilize this as an opportunity to help their survivors process different things, and they come out. I mean, this was always supposed to be a physical manifestation of your path to thrivership and surviving abuse and difficulty, right, in your journey. And so it has been wonderful to see these centers truly embrace this. Survivors throughout the state of Florida. We had somebody fly here from California and do 4 or 5 days with us on the road. So it has just been really, truly remarkable and something that we'll continue to do in the future.
All right, before I move on, I want to ask you, so if somebody who's watching this right now, what's the best way for them to get help? If they are in need of help, if they need to be able to speak to someone, what's the best way for them to get a hold of someone?
Well, no matter where they are in the state of Florida, they can reach out to the Florida Council Against Sexual Violence and find a rape crisis center or child advocacy center nearest them. They can check out our website, lawrencekids.org, for more information, and we are happy to connect them with services nearest to where they are. Again, people can receive free services at any point in time in their journey if they identify that they were sexually assaulted at some point in time in their life. And so it is a very important thing to be able to connect, and we're happy to do so. I
want to talk about what also is occurring as we now are finishing up the end of April. May 1st, we are now going to have a 6-week abortion ban essentially take effect here in Florida. You and I have talked about this as a possibility, as the potential of it occurring, as it may soon occur, but now we're here. What does this moment mean?
This is a horrifically scary time for women and girls here in the state of Florida. The reality is we know that women have suffered at the hands of the 15-week abortion ban because of the way that the law was written. And we know now it will happen even more. We know that women now, come May 1st, will have only 3 options in the state of Florida. 1, have the money and the resources to become medical refugees to get the help that they need. 2, take matters into their own hands, which we desperately don't want anyone doing. Or 3, avail themselves to the exemption for rape, incest, and survivors of human trafficking. Those are really the only 3 options at this point. We want people to know, we want women to know that they can reach out to the abortion fund, Planned Parenthood, to connect with services, to get people the care that they need. We see this discussion, this debate happening every day. If you turn on the Supreme Court today, talking about EMTALA and how many organs a woman has to lose before she can receive an abortion in Idaho. This is the reality of women in our state, in our country. And unfortunately, we have a very new reality in Florida that we have to live through, we have to work through. But, as we continue to work through and get through this time, we're working towards the November ballot initiative.
I think the fact that it was always an abstract concept, that now we're going to actually see it in reality. Women are suddenly going to be confronted with the idea that by the time they realize they're pregnant, by the time they get an appointment with a gynecologist to confirm they're pregnant, they're going to be outside that 6-week window. And suddenly there are a lot of women in this state who may or may not be paying attention to the news, who are going to come next week, next month, suddenly realize they are no longer entitled to the rights they once had. How do you think that's going to play out?
I think that the the right is going to have a day of reckoning in November. I think that the reality is people are angry, they're fed up, and they don't know what they don't know. You don't know. Sometimes you've lost a right until it's gone, and that's where we are. Again, we talk about, it's not hyperbole, and you and I have talked about this many times together on air and off. Women and girls will die. They will suffer for this. This is a very, very scary and dangerous time for women and girls in our state of Florida. It is the new reality. It is real. It is here. We are working to make sure that there are going to be ways that we can get women and girls taken care of in this time. You know, I have somebody who's reached out to me to be the person that is on restraining orders, because one of the options is a restraining order, that you use his name so that women can receive an abortion at that 15 weeks. That's the reality. This is a horrific, horrific thing when you think about where we are. And I do think, as you and I have, just said, come November, there will be a great day of reckoning.
I know that when this was being debated and has been debated, you offered numerous amendments at various times to try to at least make a bad bill somewhat better. And I don't think you were successful in almost any of them, and when you look at how it's not just the 6-week ban, and it's not just the fact that rape and incest is still now a category, but they've made it harder to qualify for those. And even the life of the mother, even when the life of the mother is in danger, talk about the hurdles that the state of Florida, that the legislature and the governor have put in place that make it difficult, even if a woman's life is in danger, to be able to receive the medical care she needs.
Well, it's the language that's used within the bill. And you heard the sponsor of the bill at the time when we were calling it into question. What is imminent risk? And how do we define imminent risk? What does that mean? And you've seen, and we've talked about, and it has been reported time and time again, women who are coming in with pre-prom. So there's a tear in their amniotic sac and a pregnancy is no longer viable. But there is nothing that they can do for that woman, even though the pregnancy is not viable, but send them home to develop sepsis-like symptoms, because you're closer to death when you have sepsis. There are women today in our state who are living under this 15-week ban who are having to go sit in their car with no air conditioning to develop, to raise their temperature and mimic septic-like symptoms so they can receive appropriate health care. That is a reality. This is not hyperbole. This is what is happening today. And that is that imminent risk. You see this time and time again in states all throughout the country that are doing these type of abortion bans. And you had the sponsor of the bill say that doctors are playing God and not doing the right thing. No, it's because of the way the bill was written, because they didn't want to define imminent risk. What if a woman was suffering psychologically? You can't take that into account. There are so many things here that are horrifically dangerous for women and girls. That is a new reality that we have to face. Let's say you have a pregnant woman who's on medication for their psychological state that isn't compatible with pregnancy. What are they going to do? I mean, there are so many examples out there that are very real realities for people that now are really going to be in dire, dire situations.
We'll be right back after the break. If you have any thoughts or comments about today's show, feel free to contact me at jdefede@cbs.com. I do enjoy hearing from you. Well, that's all the time we have. We'll be back again next week. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.